up, beautiful jellyfish? It's Tracy. Hope you guys are all doing well. Thank you so much for joining me on today's video. Today I'm going to be talking about experimentation along with homebrew decks and things like that. And I have a lot of stuff to say about this topic. A couple of you guys were commenting on my videos and things like that about this topic, and I did want to film a video on it. A couple of days ago I posted a status about a really funny story. I guess I'll just tell you the story now. So I don't remember if I said this in one of my videos when I was talking about this tournament that I went to, but I remember I did. I was talking to this guy about this elf deck that I'm building, and I'm running Tassiger in it instead of a lot of those decks, elf decks in Modern run like Critterhoof Behemoth, and I'm not doing that. And the guy basically told me that I would lose every game, and he told me that it was the worst version of elves possible. So I posted about this on Facebook, and I said, I just find Rune Magic players funny. I just don't get mad. I think they're funny. So one of my friends commented and said, something about what I'm going to be talking to you guys about. He said there's a lot of people who think that exact copies of top 8 decks are the only way to do well. They tend to finish pretty middle of the road and break into the top 8 to 32 occasionally, purely based on variance. They have mediocre understanding of the philosophies that drive deck building, and oftentimes you only have average mechanics. And I agree. I definitely think that people don't want to make new decks. People don't want to do homebrew decks. And they don't want to change up lists. So in my head, there's two ways to do sort of like a homebrew type deck. There's a deck that is popular and well known, and then you just change up a couple cards. Like, there are things that you're going to do in the deck that not a lot of other people have done. For example, when I built Bloom Titan, I didn't run Hive Mind. I ran Tooth and Nail, I ran in the main board, I ran like Hornet Queen, Wormcoil Engine, Dragonlord Jamoka, things like that. So I took Bloom Titan and I changed it. So I took a deck that was already reputable and I changed it and made it my own. And that's one way to do it. Or there's some people who say, I am not going to do that at all. I'm going to really make this deck completely new and just make a whole new deck, and not really base it too much off of what other people have been doing in the past. And a lot of people think that just because you're not playing a top 8 deck, your deck is bad and your deck is going to fail. I had a lot of people tell me with my Tooth and Nail deck that I would not do well with Amulet, and my whole thing on that deck about a lot of the reasons why I felt like I just got frustrated with the deck, and the reason I took it apart was because it just wasn't consistent, it's not consistent because it's a combo deck, and that's a whole other, other thing. So, it wasn't like because I wasn't running Hive Mind, like the deck wasn't good. The deck was still really sweet, and I really liked it, but it was just, I took it apart for different reasons. So the whole thing is that reasons why people don't experiment is because a lot of people are like, well, this deck has done well, so if it's done well, I'm gonna build it, and I'm also gonna do well. And, yes, absolutely. If you want to do something like that, there's nothing wrong with that. If you want to copy someone else's deck list, there's nothing wrong with that. I think that you should just be playing a deck that you want, and a deck that you're comfortable with, and a deck that you're happy with. And something that I just have realized is that, like, people are going to have their own opinions about deck building and stuff like that. And there are certain decks that, like, I or you just may not like as much, and that's okay. But, like, shutting people out and saying, like, hey, you're running this card, like, I don't think this is good. So my whole thing, and this is something that I realized. So I was on my way to a tournament, and I was talking about Planeswalkers in my Black-White Tokens deck. And I'm talking to two of my friends who have not played Black-White Tokens before. Like I said, I've been playing Black-White Tokens for a very long time. I've been piloting this deck for a while. I know the deck very well. And one of the cards that I will forever defend in the deck of being good is Sorin Solemn Visitor. He is absolutely amazing. I could do an entire card focus. I could probably do a 15-minute video talking entirely about this magic card. If you want me to do that, I will, because I love Sorin Solemn Visitor. And I was in a conversation with them, and they said, why don't you run Sorin Lord of Innistrad? Because his neg 3, I think it is you get an emblem with your creatures get +1/+1, or +1/+1, or whatever it is. And I was like, yeah, that's good. But the thing about Sorin is that Sorin Solemn Visitor is that you get the lifelink until the end of your next turn. Until your next upkeep. So it's really good so that if they swing into your creatures and you've got Vigilance from Intangible Virtue, you can block with your tokens and you gain life, and it's really sweet. And he's really good, and his ult is very devastating because a lot of people just, you know, they have to sacrifice their stuff, and it gets around hexproof, and it gets around indestructible, and things like that. So that's really, really good. And, you know, I have just been such a huge fan of this card, and I have not really had a desire to try out Sorin Lord of Innistrad, and someone even recommended the new Gideon, because you basically just pop Gideon and your creatures get +1/+1, and I'm like, yeah, don't get me wrong, like, good card, and, like, absolutely, like, he may work fine in the deck, but I've just stuck true to how Sorin is just so good for this deck, and I just can't really imagine myself, like, playing a different Magic card, because I think Sorin is just too good. And my whole thing with it is that you have not played the deck before. So if you haven't played the deck before, you know, if you want to build the deck and run Gideon or run the other Sorin, hey, do it, man, whatever you want to do. But, like, I've ran this deck before, and I found Sorin to work out so well. Such a great top deck. Pretty much at any point in the game, when you top deck a Sorin, you have 4 mana, you're really excited. He's just really, really good. So I think that's a really huge part of experimentation and building decks, because if someone hasn't run the deck before, how do they really know? You know, when you play a deck and you know a deck really well, and other people who haven't played the deck are saying things about it, it's just like, I don't know if that's necessarily, like, the best thing to do. So, like, a lot of people will say that about a lot of other cards and stuff and have their own opinions, and my whole thing is, like, if a card has been working for you and it is really good and stuff like that, you know, run the card. Run the card, even if people are going to discourage you and stuff like that. And I think it's really frustrating when people are so scared to experiment with new cards, with different cards, because they're scared that people are going to say those cards are bad and they're going to get discouraged and things like that. And it's like, well, you're not running, like, the typical cards that this deck list runs. And it's like, well, you know, like, there are some cards that, like, I get nervous talking about because I don't want people to be like, oh my gosh, that Magic card is, like, so good. Like, how could you not like that Magic card? Like, I don't know if you guys are aware of the whole topic of conversation about how Cryptic Command is not that great of a Magic card. I don't know if you guys know about this, but there's, like, this whole thing about people are like, that card is really not that good. And that's, like, a really big thing, is when you start to talk about those cards that, like, are just not good, people are like, what? One of my friends was like, I don't like Hangerback Walker, and I was like, what? And I was just like, how do you not like the Magic card Hangerback Walker? Someone was like, I don't like Siege Rhino, and I was like, what? And it, like, blows my mind, because, you know, when you've played with these cards and you've seen these cards do so well and someone's like, I don't like them, it's really interesting. And part of me wonders if those people have playtested with those cards and they're saying it because of that. So I think it's, like, all about really formulating your own opinions and testing the waters and really seeing how things work. I think that's just really important. And, like, don't be scared to experiment. Like, don't get discouraged, you know, by people who are gonna, like, bring you down, and people who are gonna be like, hey man, you know, those cards are not good and stuff. And I think that there's arguably cards that, like, just aren't good. For example, if you're building a burn deck and you're running the Magic card Lava Axe, please do not run this Magic card, please. I'm asking you very nicely here, don't run the Magic card Lava Axe. There's this really great card called Lightning Bolt. Maybe you've heard of it before. It's a really good Magic card. You should run Lightning Bolt, if you're not already. So, I don't know, I just think that people need to be more confident and make decisions to experiment, because the whole thing about decks is that when you look at new decks that have been brewed, like, recently and stuff like that, you look at those decks and you'd be like, well, someone looked at all of the current most popular decks and said, you know, hey man, those decks are really great, but I want to try something new. And then the deck became reputable, and people want to play reputable decks, and people want to play decks that are, like, well-known because they think that they're good. And I don't know, I just think people should just experiment more and get more comfortable with doing something like that. And in terms of the whole thing about homebrews and things like that, is I like when you take a deck and you make it your own. Like, I like when you take a deck and you say, these cards just aren't working for me. I just haven't found them to be that good and stuff like that. And a lot of it depends on your meta. A lot of it depends on, like, the places that you play. For example, sideboard is a really good example of this. So a lot of times I'll look at some people's sideboards and I'll be like, this is really interesting. And they're like, well, yeah, my sideboard makes sense for the meta that I play at. For the card store, my local game store, I go there and there's a lot of twin players. So I need to have my sideboard cater to twin players and things like that. So that's a really huge part of the game, I feel, is, you know, just I don't know, picking cards, I feel like, and doing things that, like, you're comfortable with, and, you know, casting the cards that you want to cast, and, if you want to, like, I think it's really cool when people do those sort of things, and say, like, hey, this card just hasn't been working for me, I'm gonna try something new, and I feel like people should not discourage that sort of thing, because it allows for variance in the format, allows for a lot of variation, and I think that's really, really important. So the format just doesn't go stale. If you are playing in a format like Modern, you're probably, or if you're playing Standard and you're not playing Siege Rhino, you're probably tired of seeing Siege Rhino. I just love Siege Rhino. It's like one of my favorite Magic cards. Just so good. But you may be tired of seeing that card because you're like, can people just build things that are not Abzan right now and things like that. So, you know, I think people just need to be way more comfortable of, you know, changing, you know, the deck up and stuff like that. But if people do what people do, they get discouraged and people talk, you know, negatively about them. And you're like, eh, man, your deck's not good and stuff. But like I said, a lot of people, they haven't casted those Magic cards, so it's just like, well, you haven't casted that card, you haven't played this deck, so how do you know? It's like the whole Sorin example. It's like, well, you know, you say that I should run this card, but I've been playing with Sorin Asylum Visitor for a while, and he's amazing, so, yeah. Yeah, guys, I think that was it. I think that was all the things that I wanted to say about this sort of thing. Let me know in the comments below if you have really strong personal preferences, like, and you're just like, wow, I just really don't like this Magic card, and I don't know why it's getting a lot of attention, or you're like, wow, there's this really great underdog card, and things like that, because I feel like that's definitely a huge thing, in the format. So, yeah. Alright, cool. I think that's it. What crazy stories can I talk to you guys about and tell you? I always like to leave off with just some, like, random, like, sort of side notes towards the end of the video. I had a really good day, actually. I went to my classes, and then I ran out, and I had to get my roommate's stuff because it's her birthday today. She's turning 21, so I picked her up some stuff, and she's a huge princess. I call her Princess all the time, so I got her, like, a princess crown and then a princess pen. It's got, like, a tiara on it, which is really cute. So I got her those, and then I got her some alcohol because she's 21, and that's what she wanted, so I got her that, and yeah, I'm talking to one of my friends right now who, he has a Sultai control list, and he and I are talking right now, and he said that he was mixing it up, and I'm tempted, so very tempted to do 4-color control in Modern, because I really want to run Keranos. Like, I have this thing right now where I really want to cast Thragtusk, but I also really want to cast Keranos. And it was funny, is I saw, like, I was playing a Grixis Twin player, and they ran Keranos, and I was like, you're casting that Magic card, I want to cast that Magic card, I want to do that. Like, do you ever get that, like, card envy, where you see people casting a Magic card, and you're like, I want to do that? I'm like that with Tasigur. Like, I think that was just the reason that I really, really needed to run Tasigur in a deck, is I was like, I need to cast this Magic card really badly, because I was like, I just want to do it. He's like one of my favorite cards. So yeah, so that was that. So I may do 4-color control. I don't know. The deck is so not gonna be built anytime soon, so I don't really know. But yeah, I also I don't know if I said this in my last video, but I'm not going to go to GP Pittsburgh anymore. It's actually mainly because I'm taking a break from competitive events for a little bit. I don't actually know of any upcoming competitive events in my area at all, so that's actually a good thing. I'm taking a break from it because I wanna focus in on elves right now and really sharpen that deck up, and, you know, play with the deck and stuff like that, and you know, see how it works. And I'm doing that and prioritizing that, so I want to get that deck, like, really good and stuff like that, and I'll keep black-white tokens together and stuff, and, you know, but I'm not going to be going to GP Pittsburgh anymore, which is fine. Like, you know, I look at it how I have, like, time and stuff. Like, I'm not in a rush to do a lot of things, like, with Magic. Like, I'm not like, oh my gosh, like, I need to go to, like, every single GP ever. Like, I'm not like that. I'm just like, yeah, I'll go to, like, events and stuff like that when they happen, and, you know, all of that sort of stuff, so, yeah. Anything else that I can tell you guys? I hung out with some of my friends yesterday, and, which was really good. It was really good to see a lot of them, and I played HeroClix. Do you guys know what HeroClix is? It's really cool. It's, like an action, like, not like an action figure type game. It's like some, like, figurines, and it's, like, based on, like, different, like, superheroes and supervillains and things like that, and you, battle against, you know, your friends and stuff like that. It's really cool. Every time I play, I always make a really awesome ladies team. Like, Harley Quinn is one of my favorite pieces because I love Harley Quinn. Like, she's one of, like, my all-time favorite, like, characters in anything. So I was playing that last night, and that was a lot of fun. So that was really great. And, yeah, guys, I think that's it. I think that's all the rambles and stuff that I wanted to talk to you guys about. Yeah. Alright, hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day/night. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch me, and I'll talk to you in the next video. Bye!